South Jersey bad boys. Hey, hit it pretty quick this week.
Yeah, just real quick, right into it. Had a nice little Christmas jingle to it. There was some sleigh bells in the background. I loved it.
Sleigh bells ring. Are you listening?
Yeah, I love the holiday version of our thing.
Oh, yeah.
We spent a lot of money on that. Paid a few people top dollar for
The
it.
best way to spread Christmas cheer.
Drinking a shit ton of beer.
Wow.
That's all
now,
we
that's
need.
called improv, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. I was a freestyle rapper in high school, so it's just all coming back to me now.
Really?
Yeah. No, but I wish. I really had just couldn't avoid saying certain words in the rap community that weren't allowed by our people.
Well, from the township that you grew up in, I wouldn't be surprised if you had a little freestyle in you.
Yeah, you know what? There was a lot of guys that I think wanted to have a career in that area.
Yeah.
They would just walk around ready to beatbox whoever. They constantly just had flattened cardboard boxes ready to break dance. You know, we were a few years behind though. Breakdancing was a 90s thing.
Yeah, that's true.
It was about
freestyle rap was big in our generation in high school.
It was ever since 8 Mile came out, which
Yeah.
I think we've discussed on this program that have the influence that has had on our generation.
And that was also big with like YouTube and stuff first coming out, with like underground rap, like freestyle battles coming out.
Yeah, it was, because that spun off into 8 different directions, from Yo Mama on MTV into roast battles. Like that whole thing just, inspired a lot of, as usual, white people take something that the black community created and
they kind of ruin it.
But
let me tell you, there is nothing that unites people more than a good freestyle rap. Like if you're sitting around and somebody busts out a freestyle that kills it, everybody's like, oh, like it's the best thing ever.
You're so right. And I haven't had a moment like that in years.
Dude, let me tell you, one time in my life, messing around with the black kids at the lunch table in school.
Yeah.
And I hit 2 lines on this other kid. Oh, yeah. Like just joking. And I hit like a funny line and got the rest of the black kids at the lunch table to laugh.
Yeah.
There has been no better high or experience in my life than that. Truly, I'll never top that. Getting those kind of laughs at the lunch table from your black friends is the best thing you could possibly experience in life.
Absolutely is. And that's why you've never even tried to touch heroin, because like, why bother? You've gone above and beyond that with just getting
I'm chasing that high, dude. That's why I got into stand-up, I think.
You're not chasing the heroin dragon. It's just the getting
genuine black kid laughs is the best thing that could happen to you.
Yeah, because I'm sure they flipped the table over, were like screaming.
Now you're getting into dangerous waters.
Yeah, there was screaming going on. Somebody was holding their face. I'm just picturing that meme of them like after a roast of the kid, the gif. Of the kid just like fucking like just screaming with laughter. Like,
yeah, there's it's just the best.
Yeah, it absolutely.
If you get somebody to move locations because of what you said was so funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They start like just fucking like kicking. I did it all the time too. I was that goofball white kid that would try and make all the black kids laugh in high school. That was and when they would do any of the freestyle rap, I never had any lines like what you described. But did you at least have a beat on the table?
Somebody was providing a beat, and then I kind of hopped in just as a joke. Yeah, but I actually hit them with a line. That was, I forget what I said, obviously, but it got a laugh. And dude, It was, I was in all my glory.
But you were in high school, right?
Yeah.
So were you guys all wearing the same uniforms?
Yeah.
So how could, because like everything that like a lot of it's based around is like what the person's wearing, how they look. You guys all
had a
the
funny
same.
haircut. I called him Elmo. It was like a whole, yeah. I made fun of some football stuff because we were on the same football team.
Yeah.
And God, dude, just hit a fucking home run at the lunch table, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah. And that was what went in your senior yearbook as just the highlight of my high school career.
It was just, God, you feel so cool.
Yeah.
If you get accepted by the black community in any way.
Yes. Just the smallest sliver.
In sports, if you're funny, if you're playing a sport and the black kids go, yo, that white boy's good. You go, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Yep. That's all I was after both of us, it seems like, that we were after in our own different counties of South Jersey.
That's all I ever wanted was approval from the black community.
Yeah, that's why I showed up day one. I remember day one of practice for high school football my freshman year in the summertime. So like school hadn't even started yet. I just knew that that's when it started. The practices were like the third week of August or whatever. School didn't start till after Labor Day. We were all coming out of middle school in a different town. Our town didn't have a high school, so we had to go there. Small enough school, no one gets cut. So you show up, you're going to be on the team, whether or not you play. We had a freshman football team though, but whatever. I show up. No one knows who I am other than the guys I showed up with. And I showed up day one of practice at night in August wearing a Reggie Bush jersey. It was Reggie Bush Saints. He had just gotten drafted. It was a number 25, which he didn't even use that number. I got that jersey the day after he got drafted, and then he had to change numbers like immediately. And people were just looking like I wasn't even trying to be a running back. I was playing like defensive line.
Also, I would argue that showing up to practice in a football jersey is a sign.
It's not the move.
Is a sign that this kid's gonna suck.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking.
It's like, oh, this is what he thinks football kids wear.
Yeah, they wear someone else's jersey, and it was no pads of a practice. I'm just out there, and it's not exactly the most comfortable. Like the jerseys to wear, like they're not like
the kids that showed up in a jersey. Yeah. Oh man, at
least it was a football jersey. If I was out there in like a Ryan Howard Phillies jersey, that's a real fucking asshole move.
Yeah,
that's worse than when you're watching a game on TV between like the Bills and the Jets, and you see some dickhead in the crowd wearing like a Chargers jersey,
or a kid who shows up to practice in jean shorts.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
dude, See, I was running sprints today.
I was wearing athletic shorts. Yeah. I was wearing my knockoff sneakers with some Shaq shorts. Remember the Shaq shorts? They tried to look like And One, but it was Shaq dunking instead of the And One guy. Oh, I had those like out the wazoo.
Yeah.
Wazoo. A white guy wearing a Reggie Bush jersey to practice.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. I'm using the terminology wazoo in 2022, but I embrace dad culture.
Damn right.
Yeah. But speaking of things that bring people together like rap battles do, nothing has brought this country closer together, and I can confidently say this, than Casey Anthony's new documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that we may have to retract a couple of statements that we previously made.
Yeah, that I've been making for the past decade plus about that woman.
Well, we all have, but specifically the last podcast when we were last talking about Casey Anthony, I believe I explicitly said this bitch is guilty. What could she possibly say that's going to change my mind? And then I watch a documentary. I go, oh, okay, she's got a couple of points here.
She seems pretty put together for somebody that went through, like, I just from the age perspective, I didn't realize there's a lot of these things that I didn't know because we weren't watching court TV during the trial in 2011 or whatever. Like I was a freshman or sophomore in college,
and things were so different. That doesn't seem like that long ago because we were in high school, but with the way media has changed since then, so much.
That was the first, and they said it in there. That was the first court case that was on social media because George Zimmerman and that whole thing happened right after that.
Oh, right.
But that was the first one where you truly were being tried by social media. It was and that's how it is. You're now guilty until proven innocent. And
she was what, 23 when that happened?
23.
Would you think about like what you were doing and how stupid you were when you were 23?
Yeah, that, and then just being able to go through the mental exhaustion of having to be in court. You're on TV to millions of people. Every single thing you do, facial expression you make, person you talk to, and then your entire life just gets put out there on TV. Like, here's the letters that she wrote, and here's her phone calls that she had with this person.
Yeah, and they can put out certain information. Like, I'd like to dig into this a little bit more, but I'm pretty sure that they did say in this documentary, like, the biggest thing that everybody, including myself, which I said last time I had the hardest time getting past, was the pictures of her going out and partying and stuff while her daughter was missing, which there's still part of you that's like, I understand her explanation where she was just kind of listening to whatever her pedophile dad was telling her to do. But she did say, like, some of those pictures weren't even like within that time period. And also, like, I had to go to work and she was like a promoter at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that does make a lot more sense. And that was not the narrative that was played out at all.
Yeah.
I mean, did you, but also let me ask you this, when you first flipped it on, was your initial reaction, fuck this bitch, she's lying, dude? Like, I initially, the very beginning of the documentary was going, fuck, this whore is full of shit, dude. Like she just seems like a liar, blah blah blah. And then slowly they're going through more and more detail. I'm going, okay, that makes sense. That's I might need to calm down.
Yeah, and I tried to remove bias going into it. Rachel wanted absolutely nothing to do with watching that. But I was like, come on, like multiple people are saying that it's actually kind of, and she was 100% against her. Then they start laying things out in the way they present it. And I think once I heard her explain some stuff a few times, I was like, oh, she doesn't sound crazy or stuttering or like she's lying. Like, obviously she's had a lot of time to put this story together.
Yeah.
There were a few things that, like, as things were going, and I'm like, they got to come back to that. Like, they're not just going to leave it. And they eventually did. The photos being one of them. But overall, I think throughout the entire thing, we could not have possibly looked worse than the one boyfriend's former roommate, where he was just railing against her. There is nothing that she can ever say. And then by the end of the episode, they were like, how about what this psychologist said? And he's like, I've never heard that. You know what? I need a break.
He completely changed his opinion. Like, he's been saying for 10 years, and he just lays into her. And then he's like, the interviewers, did you ever think about it this way? And he's like, you know what? I actually never thought about it like that. You actually just completely... That's all it took, dude?
Yeah.
Was one person raising a question to you you were supposedly really close with her?
They said what some psychologist said, which I love when they bring that in. They're like, oh, they're a 30-year expert in grieving.
He's like, nothing you could say will change my mind.
It's like, yeah, well, this 70-year-old woman who testified in the thing, here's a video of her saying this of how people grieve. And then he's like, it was such a bad acting job. I was like, is this guy an actor, number one? And then number two... who gives a shit about what her former boyfriend's former roommate said? Like, who gives a shit?
Well, that's another very interesting point, because you can tell, like, who gives a shit, like her former boyfriend's roommate.
Yeah.
These are just the people that are still willing to kind of be involved in the story because they want the limelight of it and like want to be involved. And then that goes to show back when they were, initially, like, this story came out, all of the people who were coming out of the woodwork and really, like, speaking against her, well, these are the sort of people, like, I bet you more people that maybe knew her well or were close to her that maybe thought differently were just more normal people who were like, look, I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
And then you have, like, more of the crazy ones, but that's kind of besides, like, there was a lot of other big things in this whole documentary that were just so interesting. The biggest one being, how the fuck did they never look at the dad? Like, this reminds me of the Brendan Dassey case, where, do you know, Making a Murderer?
Like, I never watched that series.
So, it's a great series.
Yeah.
But essentially, like, it really looks by the end of it like it was the Stephen Avery's nephew. So Brendan Dassey, the kid who's still in jail, his brother. Like, Brendan Dassey is, like, mentally challenged. Like, he legitimately, like, when they were putting him in prison, he's like, does this mean I can't watch wrestling anymore? Like, has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
They found evidence that they just didn't look into at all of the brother, like, Googling violent pornography, like how to hide a body, like how to chop a head off, like all these things that was like nobody questioned this kid at all. And then they kind of build a case for the parents covering up for the one son and just kind of blame it on the kid with the mental disability.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of that, where they kind of had a preconceived notion of who they thought was guilty, Casey Anthony, the mom. And the dad's a former cop who seems like a good guy who's like, look, I want to help you guys. And they're like, so why didn't you guys look into the dad? And they're like, well, he seems like a good guy. And it's like, that was your case, that he seemed like a good guy? Like, you didn't look into any of his shit? Like, whenever there's a murder, who should you start with? I feel like everybody knows by now. You start with the closest people in the family.
Yeah. And her lawyer, the old guy that she was living with, he said it pretty, as straightforward as possible. He's just like, everybody who is like that close should be considered a suspect. Yes. And they are not cleared until there's something clearing them. And just being a good guy isn't something that clears you. And that's
literally how they cleared him. They're like, well, he just seemed like he had his, they're like, well, Casey lied about a bunch of stuff and he seemed like a good guy. Yeah. And that's like literally what they built their case around.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like, they had all of this evidence of what was going on, like, with the trunk and but it's also like the dad lived in that house too.
Yeah. Yep. There was a whole lot of stuff. And the one thing I couldn't get past that she never, I never heard a clear explanation throughout it. Maybe I missed it in the 3 episodes, was where she said that she saw her dad with her daughter's body. She was cold and looked lifeless. She never said that she saw her dead, and she's like, I thought that she was alive. She's like, till 6 months later.
That's the hardest part for me. Yeah.
And I was like, well, then what did you think was happening? Like, your dad was telling you that but it's like, but you saw that she wasn't like.
Yeah. That was the toughest part for me, where when she was describing that, she's like, what I remember is like, I came out, saw what looked like a lifeless body in my dad's arms, and he started, basically instructing her from there. And then she was like, he walked away, and like, I never saw her again. And to me, initially, I'm like, what? Like, how do you let your child that looks that way out of your sight from there, and then not really know what's going on? Now, to play devil's advocate, I can see a world where you're in such shock from seeing one, being that young, seeing a dead body, seeing your child's dead body, not knowing what to do, and her dad probably saying, hey, they're all gonna think this is you. If the child's, maybe he didn't clarify, she's really sick, she's really hurt, whatever, they're all gonna blame this on you. What did you do? You did this. We got to figure out a story that like scared the shit out of her, where maybe she literally blacked out and is like, literally, like, I could see how that could wipe your memory, and they put you in such a state of shock where you have no idea what is going on.
And they started going into all of the stuff with like what her dad might have done because of what he did to her prior and all this stuff. And the one thing that was, at the end when they show the video from the funeral with him up there
saying that shit,
saying all that crazy stuff, I'm like, holy shit. It wasn't like he was just like speaking off the tongue at like a party or a Christmas gathering. It was at a funeral, and he's up there line after line after line. When I'm saying something's creepy, it's fucking creepy.
Right.
Because I say some of the creepiest things imaginable on here, but he's talking about the sweet smell of her sweat. I'm like, is that a 3-year-old?
And
like,
seeing by the end, like, how much she kind of opened up by the end of the documentary, and seeing her reaction to that. Like, in the beginning, her reactions were kind of weird to me, but then by the end, I felt like she kind of opened up a little bit more, and you see her reacting, going like, that's not fucking normal to say some shit like that. And I'm like, now you see more, like,
she reacts to,
you get more of a genuine reaction. You kind of start to see, you get more of a pulse on like who she actually is, and that's what they failed to do initially in the case, is they painted this whole picture of
and especially with this one being the first trial by social media, because you can go back to looking at like somebody like Elvis, like he was the first like worldwide famous guy and had no one telling him what to do, no guidance. He had no idea what to do, and it led down a path of destruction, and he was dead by 46.
Right.
With her, it's like you have the media, and they're like, oh shit, did you see what this person said on Twitter about that? Like, they didn't know how to present all that stuff. So you just had the media just blackballing her, of just saying like, look at these photos of her out at a club, and it's like they were from years prior, but they were putting them out there. There was probably a lot of misreported stuff then. There's a lot of misreported stuff now. That was probably blown out of proportion.
Misreported stuff, and I think the cops also did such a poor job with assuming she was the only suspect in the investigation, really. Not looking into anybody else really in the family, especially the dad. And dude, like the fact that the psychologist or therapist really kind of confirmed like she really seemed like she was molested and like all that stuff by her dad. It seemed like she was telling the truth about all that stuff. The fact that he's a pedophile, if he's a pedophile, 99% in my mind, he fucking is the one that did this. If you can do that to a child, like murders, why would that be off the table by any means?
Yeah, exactly. Between that, him cheating on his wife, sounded like he was kind of a scumbag, like growing up. Like he would take money
stealing
from
all
his wife's
money and shit
like that. So I think initially we were both on the same side of the fence as far as prior to this. Like we only knew what we've known since we were 16, 17 years old when this case was tried, where it's like, oh, that fucking crazy lady that killed her daughter and got off like innocent. That's all I've really known.
It's all anyone's known.
And that I've seen on Twitter. Like I've never actually listened listen to her talk. And now a decade plus later, they get to present their side of the case, and it's like, oh shit, okay, so I can see that, and now we're kind of like on the other side. I think essentially, at least how I think it played out, is that some type of accident happened involving her dad.
Yeah.
She was either knocked out, knew of it, something happened, whether or not her involvement, I don't know, but it was just an accident, and they're like, oh fuck, and her dad tried taking care of it as a cop did, and she either blacked out from all of that, had some involvement, and then just, that's essentially what it is.
And the brother saying how their dad used to bury their animals
in the same fashion,
in the same way. I'm like,
in a bag and duct tape it up. Yeah, that's all pretty strange. I think the strangest part of the entire documentary that I watched, it was outside of the documentary. Actually, it had nothing to do with it in a way, because it was on Peacock. It was on Peacock, which means, and I assume I get it for free through Comcast. I don't know if you pay for Peacock or if you illegally streamed it or something.
I think that we have it through our internet or through our cable service.
That's what we get it for free through that, but there's ads on there. Do you have ads in the middle of this?
Yeah.
Because Peacock, they're new to this game of these true crime series, right? Netflix exploded with those. Hulu caught onto it. HBO Max did. Peacock is the only one that has ads interjected in the middle of some really tense fucking moments in this thing. And it's like you're sitting there, and it's like Casey Anthony's like, I can't believe that my dad said he, couldn't smell or just missed the smell of her sweet sweat, and they show it. Casey Anthony starts bawling, and then literally a half a second later, it's like a KFC commercial, like, come in here for our new family-sized meal. And it's just, it was fucking egregious. There was a commercial that came up for a new Buick, and it was talking about the trunk size. I thought it was distasteful. I thought it was pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
I've never seen ads in the middle of a very tense, very timely, very popular court thing. Like, what if there was ads in the middle of like an O.J. Simpson tell-all story? And
there probably was, and they were like, get a new Cutco knife.
Yeah, we're selling these new Cutco knives,
super sharp. Just ask O.J.
Yeah. This one, it was
it was a trip, man. I mean, there still are a couple of things where I feel like any documentary you watch, it's presented obviously just one-sided. And the ones previously that I saw about this case, which was what everyone's heard for the past 10 years, was all one-sided, obviously. And then this one was the other side of it. I wish you could get one or more documentaries in general where you really feel like they kind of bring up both sides and kind of dispel both things. But like there was one thing that I remember in the old documentary, or the first documentary, I should say, on the other side of things, talking about the relationship that she had with her lawyer that got her off, who also has represented Harvey Weinstein,
Jose Baez,
and Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I'm curious to... because I didn't look into it at all.
Yeah, because
But maybe that's a smear campaign too. I'm not sure. But I was kind of hoping they would bring... Because he wasn't interviewed, as you noticed in this documentary.
Yeah, he declined to...
Why did he decline?
Yeah, that would be interesting. And then she kind of didn't really talk about him.
They didn't at all. And that's what I'm like, why did they not talk about that at all?
Did you see the statement from Casey Anthony's mom, though?
No.
At the very end, where they were like... when they put all of her comments into one screen, where they were just like... Yeah, we asked her for a comment. She said this. She said that. She was just basically trashing her daughter, just saying, these are allegations of crazy, this, that, whatever. And then it just said, and she also called Casey a whore. Could you imagine getting questioned about your kid in this, very popular thing? And she's like, yeah, she's a whore. Like, I didn't know they were from South Jersey.
Right.
I thought they were from Ohio. They were living in Florida.
Yeah.
It's a match made in heaven, but it's just she's a whore.
None of that's true. Not to mention, did you guys know she's a whore? And what kind of mom would talk, like, no matter what, like a mom that calls her daughter a whore?
To somebody taking notes on the other end of the phone line, just like,
got that.
Yeah, write this down. Did you get that correctly? I said she's a whore.
It was weird that they showed that interview. Maybe it was on Dr. Phil too, of her dad kind of slipping up and being like, I needed to like say sorry.
I need to apologize.
Like, sorry for what?
And her mom jumped in. She's like, wait, apologize for what? He's like, for what I've. He's like,
I don't know, just in case.
Just apologize.
In case I die and want to get into heaven.
Yeah, and I've been there before where I just apologize for something. I don't know what the fuck I'm
every
apologizing
argument I'm in
for.
with my girlfriend.
Yeah. with your fiance.
Right.
You're just like, yeah, I'm sorry, and she wants you to say for what, and then you're like, fuck.
Just can I do a blanket statement for everything I've done?
Just
I don't know.
Across the board, things that you don't even know about that happened.
Whatever you think I should be sorry for, I'm sorry. Can we just cancel them all out? I can't get to every single.
Yeah. Can we just?
Because I'm not exactly sure what it is, but whatever it is, I could bet your ass I'll be sorry about it.
Yeah. You're better fucking darn tootin' I am. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But. You know, what a documentary, what a series, I can't wait to see what comes out of this next.
I can't wait to see how we change our tune after the next documentary comes out.
Yeah.
We'll be like, fuck, this chick is a whore. Like the next one, we completely flip-flop again.
Who's going to be the next one that hasn't really... I mentioned earlier.
Harvey Weinstein's innocent.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Wait until the doc comes out.
Just wait until that comes out.
Everyone he was misjudged.
Yeah. Harvey Weinstein.
Epstein's innocent.
Yeah. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein. When Ghislaine Maxwell gets her tell-all documentary on Peacock, or maybe Verizon will have a streaming service.
She's like playing tennis and barely,
what is she serving? Like 6 years, I think, in like a country club prison. I think that's what she's serving.
That's it?
It's not a lot. I forget what it is, but she's not serving like a life sentence or anything close to it.
I thought she got a life sentence.
No, I don't think so.
Can we give it a goog?
Let's give it a goog. I do not believe that she...
I thought she got something. That is crazy.
Let's see here. Okay, she got sentenced to 20 years.
Yeah, it's a lot different than 6.
And it's a lot different,
but still 20. Yeah, you would think a lifetime considering what she's done.
20 years and probably a place that's like, she's probably got a nicer cell than like this basement. I mean, she's probably living large at a country club prison somewhere. So
damn.
But and a good behavior, she might get out in less time than that. She might be looking at 6. Who knows? But she went to.
That's true.
The biggest thing with her story is that she went to prison for all this sex trafficking to unknown people. You know, they just don't get to the bottom of anything. All this is just real shoddy police work. I want to, there's 3 things that I want to support in life, and that's the troops, women, and the police. But you can't have everything you want. And whenever these documentaries come out, a lot of the times they go to the cops and they're just like, yeah, you know what? we didn't, the OJ case.
Like, I didn't look into it. Dude, it's always that. I was just about to say, I feel like the cops are so overrun, and like they don't have the bandwidth that they never seem to actually look into, like, fully into one thing, because but by the time you start to look into one case, you have a million others on the table, and unless there's like a specific organization like the FBI or like a detective, like if it's just left up to the cops, they don't have the time, and they're not going to look into it, or they're just going to make an assumption, and they're going to be like, it's this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Seemed guilty.
Yeah, it seemed guilty. The other guy was a good guy.
Like how? Yeah. I mean, it seems like this happens all the time, and it's so.
It does. Even with any of these, not any, but a large amount, I feel like, for any of these like mass shooters, or especially kids that get a hold of guns, and it's like usually, there was a dozen reports into the FBI, and they just never followed up on anything.
Yeah,
and it's like,
I mean, I've had like the tiniest of interactions with this, but like even getting like jumped like in Philly and reporting that to the cops. They basically said, they're like, like, dude, we got murder cases, like we're never gonna and part of you's pissed, but the other part is like, I mean, what are you going to do? Yeah. It's like that's just the reality. They have so much shit they have to get to.
It was just like those cops that were investigating the double homicide that happened when I lived in Philly.
Yeah.
Which that whole story, which I don't
probably never even followed up on. Like,
I never got my memory card back.
Or how long do they follow up before they go, we're not going to figure it out?
Yeah. Oh God. I don't even think I've ever told this story on here, but just, I mean, essentially my car was parked outside of this double homicide scene. 2 people were murdered. It was a 50-year-old guy and a 20-year-old girl They were shot execution style. There was no
Jesus Christ.
There was no signs of like breaking in, like somebody that they knew, so they thought it was a drug deal gone bad. They were shot in the back of the head, face down on the floor, across the street from where I was living. And my car was parked outside of the door, and I had a dash cam on my car.
Damn.
So they're like, "Did your dash cam?"
Like, I'm not leaving this parking spot.
Yeah, I was like,
I don't care if 2 people were executed.
Yeah, I was like, I'm leaving it right here. Yeah, there was caution tape all around it. I couldn't fucking get out if I wanted to. But then they show up in my dad's house because my address wasn't in Philly. My car had Jersey plates on it. Right. I never moved it to Philly. So they show up at my dad's house, and they're like homicide detectives. And my dad answers the door. He's like, what did this fucking idiot do this time? So long story short,
he was like, my son's a whore.
Yeah, my son, he's actually a whore. My dad thought it was going to be on Netflix. This is his time to shine. Yeah. He's like, I would like to make a statement. You know, he lawyers up. He comes out to a press conference. There's just microphones in front of his face, you know.
Ready to throw you under the bus.
Yeah, he was going to throw me under the bus. He's just like, listen, there was no ladder on the pool. I don't know what that whore's talking about. Yeah. But essentially what happened was I gave my dash cam memory card to the cops. I met them at Wawa at like midnight. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be out and around like on that Friday night, like, but I can give it to you like afterwards. They're like, yeah, we'll be on patrol. Just meet us at Wawa on Columbus Boulevard. I met them there, and they're just in the back stirring coffee, and they're like, are you our guy? And I'm like, yeah. And I have a micro SD card, and I give it to them, and then I just asked them, I was like, so you guys have like any leads? Is this going to show anybody?
Didn't ask you any questions.
Didn't ask me any questions. They're like, thank you.
Despite you living right there.
Yeah.
Not being like, hey, were you home? Did you hear anything?
No notepad. I was expecting them to flip open a little notepad and start writing things down.
They don't give a fuck.
They were acting like they were a fucking waitress who's been working at the same diner for a decade. I know this menu back. Say whatever you want. I don't need a notepad.
And did you volunteer? Like, hey, I have like...
Yeah.
So it's like they weren't even going to think to ask you for that shit.
Yeah.
Like, they don't... Like,
they just didn't give a shit. It was, and then I never heard from them. I gave them the memory card. They said that they didn't have any leads because it was finding a needle in a haystack between all the people that wanted to murder those two. That's literally what he told me. I gave him a memory card that was showing cars, people all over that street for that time before I parked. I was like, who knows what it could have captured.
Did you look at it yourself before giving it to them?
Yeah, I looked at it, and I parked my car on Friday after work.
But you couldn't...
And I left it there until Monday for work. So the murder happened Sunday night, and Monday morning is when everything was going on. And I'm like, my car's been there since Friday.
But did you look at the footage to see if...
Yeah.
And you didn't see anything?
I didn't see anything unusual, just, a typical South Philly street. But it was also on Friday. They didn't get murdered till Sunday. So, like, my car was sitting there untouched for that long. So I don't think it ever had anything. But it was a 128 gigabyte micro SD card.
That's what you're concerned.
I called his office, and I was like, can I get that back? And, like, he never returned my calls.
Yeah, they're like, what are you going to do?
It's probably in his wife's digital camera now, and they're fucking,
The fact that that's their explanation, they're like... a lot of people wanted to kill them. We don't really give a shit.
Yeah, they're like, there's too many people. I guarantee you, if I tried to look into that, there's not going to be any solve on that murder.
That's why when you get a case like a Casey Anthony, where it's like a pretty young girl of like this extraordinary looking story, those are the only ones that get, or if it's a celebrity like OJ, those are the only ones that get looked into because they have the public eye on them where they go, shit, we got to have our story straight. But for like 2 unknown, potential drug dealers in Philly, they're like, literally no one's going to be asking about these fucking people.
This is not getting on Peacock.
So they're like, imagine if they followed up on it, like all of a sudden Netflix did a series where they go, this is called Following Up on Everyday Murders. And they start grilling cops on cases that have never been followed up with. These cops would be like, they'd be fired immediately. Yeah. They'd be like, yeah, I don't know. We just, we looked really hard and we couldn't find anything. And so we just, we said, forget it.
It is baffling to me, not even on a homicide level. My dad had something stolen out of his car when he still lived at the house I grew up in Edgewater Park. And he went to the police about it, and their first question to him was, well, was your car locked? Because there's no signs there wasn't a window broken, there wasn't, nothing was apparent like that. And my dad's like, no, it's actually the first time I never locked my car that night. And they were just like, oh, well then we can't do anything. It's not it wasn't breaking and entering. He just opened your door. They're like, that's not even considered robbery.
How?
The guy stole my dad's wallet and used it at gas stations all over the county. And I'm like, there's cameras at every gas station. That's an open and shut case. How do you not get the guy?
Yeah, take the afternoon, put the donut down. But like, so if your front door is unlocked, someone can walk in your house and just, take your dog.
That's the lesson I got from that. My dad was livid about that and never heard anything back from them. Yeah. Nothing on that entire thing. So it goes all the way down from homicides all the way down to petty theft.
What do we got in the news?
Oh, dude, we got a lot of different things happening in the news. Let's start, actually. Let's come in hot about this one while we're talking about a murder. Let's just talk about more about dead bodies. So there's a family that exhumed their grandmother from her grave after 10 years, and they were shocked by her appearance. Could you imagine? This is in the Dominican Republic. The first line in the story is what she was drop dead gorgeous. We are all just mentally ill anymore. Like, what is happening?
They exhumed their grandmother?
Basically, they took her out of her coffin in the graveyard, and just when you exhume a body, like, you just take it out. And
did what with it?
Just took pictures. Look at this. They here's the photo of the guy with the woman, and they said that they were getting a lot of compliments on after 10 years. Her skin was still intact. Her hair was still there. They said that she still looked great after being in the grave for 10 years.
God, knock it off, white people.
They said she was a good person in life. That's why she is still preserved.
I don't think that's why.
Noted that the body keeps standing up and everything. They just let it stand on its own, and it was just standing there in this white gown.
God, ew, dude.
So I was like, why did they exhume a body? Like, can we just go down to, a cemetery in Cinnaminson and just take a body out of the grave if it's our grandmother?
Is she missing her arms? She looks better dead than alive, dude. She looks worse than that.
Yeah, because of all the wrinkles when you're dead.
With all due respect, because she could be a zombie and come after us.
Yeah. With all due respect, ma'am, you would have killed it in The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, I mean, look at those cheekbones.
Look at those cheeks. Look at that. And it looks like that's the one thing with skulls. It looks like she's screaming eternally.
Is she missing her arms?
She's missing her eyes, I can tell you that. The arms, no, he's like holding them in. I guess they can't fit through the arm sockets.
Ew,
or through the holes in the nightie that she's wearing.
What is the thought process on doing this? Like, hey, I had a half day of work. You want to go dig up grandma?
Yeah, let's go dig up grandma. I'm like, what the? I mean, rest in peace to you, mom.
She looks pissed there. She's looking at them with that exact expression right now, going, what the fuck is wrong with my kids?
Yeah. The family did not state why they exhumed the body.
Yeah, you weirdos. Like, dude, oh my God. Yeah, what she looks like Joe Pesci, dude.
Yeah, she looks like Joe Pesci after a really rough night. And then
I'm surprised that her hair's not more decomposed.
That's the one thing is I can't say that I've really looked in depth at a exhumed body after a decade in the ground. Like, do you think they just hit the anniversary and they're like, how do you think she looks? Like,
it sounds like they're a couple of perverts. Dude, I don't know.
That looks like the hairstyle of everyone's like aunt or grandmom that moved to the Jersey Shore after retiring.
I mean, I'll give her that. She's still got a great head of hair. I mean, she's got more hair on her head after being dead for 10 years than half of my college roommates.
Yeah. Whatever they're doing. I mean, she clearly doesn't need a subscription to 4Hims. She definitely doesn't need that.
What weirdos thinking like this would be a good idea.
Now, there was in the Dominican Republic. It's not exactly what I would call a fun vacation to an all-inclusive. Like, I wouldn't think that this would be included, but...
Yeah. But no, that's one of the excursions.
Yeah, that's one of the excursions. Do you want to go exhume a body?
We can go spelunking, or we could go dig up grandma.
Yeah.
Your pick.
Yeah. If you go to Cancun, it's like, hey, do you want to go check out those underwater caverns, or do you want to go dig up some decapitated bodies from the cartel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what do you think I'm looking around at stuff. I want to get people experiences as a Christmas gift in South Jersey. Dominican Republic, you can exhume a body from a grave. South Jersey, I mean... You could commit various types of crimes, but I'm thinking of like a good, wholesome, family-friendly South Jersey experience. Like, have you ever seen commercials for the place, the Sahara Sam's, that is now rebranded after that kid drowned a few years ago? No. And they're now calling it something else. It's an indoor water park, but you got places like that. You got that construction site where you get to go out. What is that called? Is it Diggerland? Which is awfully close to Whoopsies, but have you ever heard of Diggerland?
I do not support Dan on this podcast. I do not support... I just met this guy.
Yeah. Diggerland is a place.
You gotta stop saying it with the hard ER, dude. You gotta get.
I'm sorry.
You gotta say Digga.
I'm sorry. Diggerland was.
Oh my God, we're gonna have to toilet flush all this.
Well, Diggerland is a place where you can go in like bulldozers on like just like a vacant property, and you get to drive like huge construction equipment around and crush shit and stuff like that. And like kids that are huge into like Tonka trucks and shit like that, they can go out there and get into like a fucking bulldozer or a forklift, whatever the fuck you want, and you just like pay for like an hour of just like demolishing shit in like a wide
That open. Sounds more normal than digging up your relatives.
Yeah, I thought Diggerland is what you could do with this spotty, but apparently
don't love that. I said we move on. Because you're scaring me.
We're getting awfully close.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some, speaking of good old wholesome family enjoyment here. PornHub. Yes, the PornHub.
Whoa, the old hub.
This website.
I've done my research.
Yeah, they just released their 2022 year in review of the top porn searches state by state.
Wow.
In the United States.
Can you do a zoom just because I can't see?
Well, before going into New Jersey, what do you think the top search for porn term in New Jersey was?
MILF.
Close. It was actually femdom.
Femdom. Dominant feminist?
Yeah, like a dominant feminist. Isn't that all of them? No. I think it's a female dominatrix, if I could. And then in New York, Dominican. There you go. Well, we just saw what happens when you search for Dominican stuff. That's in New York. But,
big black rub anime. There's a whole state where the anime.
Which one's that? Oklahoma? Jeez, Joe Exotic is getting a little exotic in his porn searches.
That is wild that the entire state of Oklahoma...
The most popular porn search term is anime. Now, in Oklahoma, it could very well be just one guy that looks up anime porn 378,000 times a day.
Looks up panties?
That's about right. That's about right.
But that's a category?
I guess just search terms on PornHub from the state of Texas was panties.
What a weird, like, I can't imagine going to look up porn and being like, let me look up bras. You know, it's like, you can see naked women.
Well, how about Arizona being shower?
Shower, that's not even
like
cartoon, goth, Mormon.
Mormons in Utah, that at least cracks.
I guess that makes furry.
Fleshlight.
I feel like every state can't be this wildly different. Leather,
flesh.
What?
Fleshlight up in. Okay, let's play a game of which two states are these.
Just the terms. Well, that's Oregon.
This one's Oregon. Right. This one's Washington. Okay.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. Washington's on top, right?
No, wait a second. Wait. No, Washington is. Yeah,
Washington is Fleshlight.
Yeah, Seattle, Washington's up there.
Oregon.
Yeah, furry is in Oregon, which it's cold up there.
Scary dumb.
It gets cold. I was just thinking furry.
This will help me remember the states, though. I'll go, anime, Oklahoma.
We should create this song instead of by the capitals. They could just, try and work this around into different states.
There's a couple of furry states, which is fucking crazy that many people sucking.
Yeah. Funny that Rhode Island is group.
We got, what is that, Maine with anime?
Yeah, Maine had anime.
Fucking weirdos.
Minnesota had sex toy, and this one right here, this is Wisconsin, pegging. Iowa had cream pie. I thought they were known for corn.
What is it?
Oh, no, that's Nebraska.
Go over the East Coast again. I'd like to see how we're looking on the East Coast, how we're representing.
So the smallest state in the union is group. Rhode Island had group. College for Massachusetts.
I guess there's a lot of colleges there.
Harvard is one.
Hairy, trans.
Isn't it
smoking?
Isn't it great that you can go
smoking? That's so fucking gross.
Smoking for Virginia.
I want to see my bitch smoking while she's doing it. Gilf. Ew.
Now, Gilf down in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. That's what it is.
Jesus Christ, big.
Isn't it funny that West Virginia has trans as the most popular? That would not be the state that I would expect trans to be the most popular search term.
Wow, what's interesting? The South is very into black, which you would historically not say that they are. I mean, for people who fought real hard.
They love it.
Over that war, they are really behind the scenes really, on the other end of that. The other end of that argument.
Well, yeah, and that's why it's so funny. You got trans in
the
West
whole
Virginia,
South, Florida,
North Carolina, big black ass.
That's so funny.
MILF in Delaware.
It's all about the no-nos. There's racists in the South, but behind the scenes, they wish they had a black chick.
Yeah, and all those kids out in Colorado just love them some big titty goth girls.
And Wisconsin's like, I don't fucking know. Somebody fucked me in the ass, dude.
Yeah.
It's too cold up here for sex. I need to feel something. Just peg me.
Now, why is Maryland ASMR? That's probably the furthest thing from a porn search term. But I guess they have ASMR on PornHub. That's pretty wild.
I guess they got everything. They're like Applebee's.
Yeah, there's a mathematician that does math classes on PornHub.
What?
Yeah, there's a guy that started putting like math lessons on like how to do like different equations and stuff on PornHub, which is funny. Like, what if we started uploading our comedy sets to PornHub?
I think I heard Lemaire did that before, and I'm like, that's fucking genius.
That's fucking hilarious. That would be hilarious though, just to see people's reactions going through there. Everything else, Asian in California, yeah. Breast expansion in Alaska?
So specific. What does that even mean? Breast expansion.
Amateur wife.
I want a wife, but one that doesn't know what the fuck she's doing.
Yeah.
I want an amateur.
An amateur wife. She's just walking around. She's burning shit left and right.
Panties. That's fucking hilarious.
That's strange. Yeah.
Can't believe how, like, the fact that there's multiple animes. Strap on.
What's PMV?
Stepmom.
For
only
Ohio.
one stepmom state. PMV. I don't know. Pure mature. V.
I might have to pull up the hub right now and search PMV and see what comes up.
Penis munching vagina.
Penis munching vagina.
Let's give it a quick PMV search.
Yeah, let's go to...
What is hentai?
Hentai is like anime, but like even gayer, I think. I actually don't know.
Well, we got a lot of homework tonight.
We do have a lot of homework, so let's type in PMV. Compilation. What is PM... Thought shot?
PMV. It looks like just chicks making out.
Hot mess, PMV. A lot of these words I'm not allowed to say out loud, but AMA, PMV, like there's way too many.
It's probably something with munching vaginas.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like
Pussy
a lot
munching vaginas.
Yeah. PMV and beat.
Well, listen, let's do our homework and we'll circle back on this next episode.
We all have an assignment out here. If everybody
comment in with your favorite PMV video.
Call into our the Bad Boy hotline and let us know what you're searching on the hub at 856-617-4626.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Before we get to some highlights in what I would think is the news 2 international stories from our neighbors to the north, I think it'd be great to go through. Maybe, you know how we were writing to Dear Abby and she ignored our heartfelt messages?
You betcha.
I think that we should provide advice to one of her columns that she probably gave shitty advice to, but some of the more interesting questions. Here's one that I found as we were looking at some holiday gatherings and events that are coming up. This story was written into Dear Abby called Aunt Not Invited to Family Events. And here's what the story says.
She's probably racist.
My pregnant oldest niece just had a gender reveal party to which I was not invited. She called me to tell the gender of the baby, but my brother and his wife were invited. My sister-in-law is having the baby. I don't feel like I'm being treated like family anymore. My brother and his family never invite me to family gatherings. I'm wondering why I was not invited to the gender reveal. However, I am going to the baby shower. My feelings are as if I wasn't good enough to be invited to the gender reveal. Then why would I go to her baby shower? Her aunt in Indiana.
So you could give a fucking gift, dumbass.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
They just want to invite more people to the baby shower to get the gifts.
Yeah.
But you're probably not that well liked.
Yeah. You're probably not. Her aunt in Indiana. It's like everybody's got an aunt that they don't want to invite to the family gatherings of some sort. And always with women, every single time Rachel says something, and even some of her friends, when it comes down to going to a baby shower or bridal shower, they're always just like, not wanting to go. Like even the people that did it for some of her friends, they're just like they didn't even want to have it. They all just seem to. It
sounds terrible. They go and they watch like one girl open up gifts.
Yeah, and it's awkward, and they play these like little games and stuff, but it's all grown women, like, and it's like 50, 60-year-old women that are putting together these things.
Yeah,
they just sit there and they're just like, open it, but like put a weird thing on your head while you do it. That'd be fun, right?
And they're like, okay, here's the next one, and like 3 hours later they're still opening gifts. It's just as like when people are always like, the biggest YouTube channel for kids is a kid opening up and playing with toys, like, and the kids will watch that. I'm like, that's the same fucking thing. It's women watching this girl open up gifts. And it's not fun.
They all don't want to do it. I'm so glad from a guy's perspective that, like, I don't think we have to do or go, or like, you haven't been involved in any of this type of stuff. You guys had an engagement party, which is one thing. Like, that's a, well,
we are having a baby shower because we got to get them gifts, boy.
Oh yeah, you got to have something to get, and that's what it all is. And it's like, why don't you just write a letter out to everybody? It's just like, send me shit.
Well, that's basically what an invite to a baby shower is. It's like, hey, wanted to cordially invite you to buy me something.
I'd like to cordially invite you to RSVP to something that you're going to have to bring something over. That is one thing on this entire wish list of Amazon. Feel free to pick out whatever you want, but the cheapest thing is $200.
I knocked up my girlfriend. Need some gifts. Thanks a million.
That's the way the cookie crumbles. Now let's get into, we'll close out here with some Canadian news. These are two stories that I feel like go hand in hand with each other. Two batshit crazy stories out of Canada, not out of New Jersey for the first time in a long time here. So a Canadian para-Olympian said that she was offered medically assisted death after asking for a wheelchair ramp. Did you see this story?
What?
In Canada, you can have medically assisted suicide. Basically, they'll just help you kill yourself if you want to. This para-Olympian from Canada, who's a former military member, asked for a wheelchair ramp to be installed in her house, and they suggested that she kill herself instead.
She was like, hey, it might actually be really helpful if you guys can get me like a ramp. It just make things a little bit easier. And they're like, why don't you just fucking kill yourself?
We can actually help you.
It might be easier. Would you rather just fucking end it all?
Yeah, they actually offered to bring over everything that she would need to help her dying.
Jesus, Canada. I thought these Canadians were supposed to be nice.
Yeah, they are. They're actually too nice. It's just like, hey, instead of you suffering by having to get pushed up a wheelchair and a ramp in your house, how about we just help you end it all now? Yeah. So, I mean, we're pretty known for doing a lot of improv-y troupe style type of stuff on here. So why don't you just act like you have a minor inconvenience and you're coming to see me at my doctor's practice right now, and I'll give you some Canadian medical advice.
I've been having some neck pain lately, and it really bothers me. I don't really know what to do.
Yeah, so do you think that you would want either a brace, or I could just smother you till you're dead right now?
Is that the only two options?
They're not the only two options, but we can help you to get someone to help kill yourself inside of your house.
Well, it seems like that's the most practical.
Now, if you want to go, I don't recommend this. You can go to the next tier up, and we can get you a brace to put around your neck for 2 weeks, and everything else will be fine. However, I think an assisted death plan might be more right for you.
Does insurance cover that?
It does. 100% funded by taxpayers are going to help you kill yourself, and this is your way of giving back.
All right, well, I don't want to be an asshole. I guess let's just close it out.
Let's just close out the book right here. Yep. And then that's an average Canadian doctor's appointment right there.
Okay.
And that's how it works.
I see the benefits.
Yeah. And somebody was crunching the numbers. In Canada, it's in the top 10 highest causes of death is medically assisted suicides.
Wow, that many people.
Yeah, outside of just suicides on its own, it's like, I think top 5, somebody broke it down.
Whoa.
Top 5 causes of death is somebody helping you kill themselves. So how easy is it to kill yourself in Canada? I mean, I'm all for them doing this. It's brutal to watch somebody that either has cancer and they're just like, yeah, you got to keep stringing this along. Like, at least with dogs, they can call their own shots. Like, it's too late. Let's not make it too late. Let's just call it right now.
You know what's fucked up? I was just thinking about this, is that, there's so many people in America that commit suicide, obviously globally.
Yeah.
You don't have that option. And you have somebody that is in Canada that maybe is thinking about this. But imagine a person who's like really indecisive about it. Who's like, all right, doc, you know what? Thought about it. I'm going to fucking kill myself. And they're like, okay, here you go. And they're like, wait, should I do it? And the doc's like, look, this is your call. I'm not going to talk you into it. All right, do it. No, wait, no. Like, that could be, I wonder how the doc would react there.
But it's all just, It's all like medical as well. Like they must come into your house and pump you full of shit or whatever you want, and then that's like more of a lethal.
Is it more of like euthanasia, like if people are really sick, or if somebody is like depressed, can they just come in and go, look, I don't see the point?
I think in Canada they can just
wild.
That's fucking crazy. In the US, in certain states, I believe in Oregon and maybe a northeastern state, maybe New Hampshire or Vermont, it might be Vermont, I think, and California I think as well, that I think if you meet certain criteria you can have a medically assisted suicide in your house.
That's fucking wild. Like I wonder how much they push counseling or being like, hey, like, don't try to maybe try some other things before you come to this, or if they're like, that's what you want to do, okay.
Yeah, well, I'm sure in Canada they would actually, it's all 100% covered by the government. It's a lethal thing. You don't feel a thing. It's just like you're getting knocked out. It's just like a liquid IV injection of some sorts. But in the US, I'm sure you just go up to a counter, and if this was the same way here, they would just pass you a loaded firearm across the table. It just had one round.
Yeah,
just like
a couple of Percocets.
Yeah.
It's the same goddamn thing in this country.
You don't need to say anything to get a handful of Percocets in this country.
No, so hey, and a couple of wisdom teeth out, and they go, here's 40. Knock yourself out.
Here's 40 Percocets. The resale value on each of those is about $75. If you have a problem with that, go to your local politicians and tell them about it.
So fucked up. That is a wild law. Did not know that was a thing. And on a positive note,
ending on a positive note here as we get into the holidays, and we'll see what happens from here.
Cool.
Yeah. We'll be back at this again, and we'll see you.
See ya.